Um, my name is Eddie Cordova. I'm the OneSource product manager for motion control and PowerFlex drives. Today, the topic we'll be covering is migration of the older Ultra 3000 and Kinetix 300 and 350 drives up to the new 5100 and 5300 Kinetix drives. So let's see here. All right. So the agenda for today is I'll be covering the product lifecycle status. Then we'll get into the 5100 overview and the 5300 overview from Kinetix. So product lifecycle, Rockwell has a status definition for the lifecycle of a product. They have what they call the active, which is product that's most current, and then we have a product that is active mature. This is fully supported, but it is older, and we want to start looking at newer products. Then the next phase is end of life. This is where the product is going to be discontinued. It's already been announced by Rockwell. And then next we get into the discontinued, where the product is no longer available. You may be able to still have product repaired, or there might be some product available for exchanges through the Rockwell exchange program. So the Kinetix 300, the Kinetix 3, and the Ultra 3000 drives are going to be obsolete, and they will be replaced with the Kinetix 5100 drive. The Kinetix 300 and the Kinetix 350 and the Ultra 3000 will be replaced with the Kinetix 5300. The Kinetix 300 and 3000i, there is both the 200 volt class and the 400 volt class. Those are still going to be upgraded or replaced with the Kinetix 5100 drives. So it was announced in 2021 that the 300, the 350, the Kinetix 2000, which is an even older drive, used Sercos, and the Ultra 3000 drives were announced end of life in 2021, and they will be discontinued in 2022. So we want to start looking at migrating these drives to the newer family of drives. How do these get migrated to the newer drives, or which drive fits best in what category? So the 300 and the 3000, those are your more standalone drives. And for the new version, the Kinetix 5100 would be considered your standalone drive. For the 350 and the Kinetix 2000 drives, those were more the architecture type drives where they were using some kind of networking with the Rockwell controllers. Those drives were considered drives that would use what they call SIP motion. So you're actually using the integrated motion control instructions in Studio 5000 with a controller. So the 5300 and the 5500 drives would be the newer replacements. The difference between the 5300 and the 5500 is the 5500 is going to be more for multi-axis applications or higher end applications. Today we're going to be focusing on the Kinetix 5300 though. So this is just kind of like the overview of the Rockwell Automation Kinetix portfolio. You'll see that the Kinetix 5100 is going to be your standalone, and this is going to be your more entry level. These are applications where you really may not need a controller to interface with the servo drive, so it's considered standalone. What that means is you can actually do motion control with an indexing drive where you're just pre-programming a motion move profile in the drive itself, and you can give it a start and a start index command the drive is pretty much standalone. It has its own internal I/O, and it's available with 230 or 460 volts up to 15 kilowatts, which is equivalent to about 20 horsepower. So we have a wide range of motor sizes and drive sizes for this. It does include what they call STO, or safe torque off. It is a hardwired safe torque off system. It's compatible with the existing TLY and MP motors, and then also Rockwell's released the new series, the TLP series of servo motors. The software used for this standalone drive is the Kinetix51005300 configuration software tool. This would also be a good replacement for the Ultra 3000 standalone drive. Then next we go into the Kinetix5300. Now this is the entry-level drive for what they call SIP motion, and this is where we're going to now require a Logix controller. So we're going to be using the Studio 5000 software, which has the integrated motion instructions. So you have Rockwell has developed motion control instructions such as an MAH, which is a motion axis home, or an MAM, motion axis move. What these are basically blocks of motion control instructions that allow the user to just program these instructions into their application code, making it much more simpler to do motion control integrated with the controller. It does have the safe torque off as well. It's hardwired, meaning that you have to actually wire in your safety devices or your safety circuit through the drive itself. It is available in either 230 volts or 460 volts, and once again, it is compatible with all of the Rockwell older series motors. It's TLY and MP series motors, and it also is compatible with the new series TLP. The dual feedback ports means that you can actually have a master encoder that the servo drive can follow. The Kinetix 55 and 5700 drives are more the higher end drives. They have a lot more features. We're not going to talk about those today, but I just wanted to mention that they're part of the Rockwell portfolio. So the Kinetix 5100. So as you can see, there's different frame sizes, meaning that they're different power sizes for the different size motors. They are available in 230 volts, and they just were released for 460 volts, so now they are available in 460 volts as well. These are some of the features on the drive. So you can see that the drive has 2 Ethernet ports, so it does support the DLR, meaning that you can do a DLR device level ring, or you can actually daisy chain in a linear topology of the servo drives. Makes it easier for integrating multiple drives. If you're not going to, since the Kinetix 5100 is also a standalone drive, you don't have to use the Ethernet connection. You can actually just use regular I/O to access, either start commands, stop commands, or any of the I/O through the I/O terminations. It does have the auxiliary feedback port for a master encoder, and it does show that the safe torque off is at the top of the drive. That's where you would do your safe torque off connections. To program the drive, it uses that Kinetix 5100C software, and you would connect through that mini USB. So you do require the mini USB cable between your PC and the drive itself. This is just an example of how the drives would wire in the hardwire safe torque off configuration. So you have a connector on each drive, and you would just kind of daisy chain the safe torque off connections for safe torque off features. The 5100 is compatible with the Micro 800 series of PLCs from Rockwell Automation. You can actually do Ethernet communications, or you can do discrete or PTO type connections. When using the Micro 800 controller, you would be using the CCW software, which is Connected Components Workbench. You could also use this 5100 drive with the compact logics using what they call AOIs. These were instructions that were pre-developed by Rockwell so that it makes it easier to integrate this 5100 drive with a compact logics controller without actually doing a SIP motion. The Kinetix51C programming software is a free software, and it is downloadable from the Rockwell website. This would be a typical configuration when using a MicroLogix controller. You would be messaging with the PLC through explicit messaging. You can also use a non-Rockwell PLC, but it's always best to use the Rockwell controller. Mainly because support, if you run into an issue, we're able to, since it's all Rockwell product, we can, get technical support from a Rockwell engineer. This is a different configuration where you're using the MicroLogix controller, and you would be using what they call a PTO or a pulse train output from the PLC, so that the drive, depending on what the frequency or the output speed of the PLC PTO is, would determine how fast the motor is going to rotate. So you can adjust speed using the PTO, and then also there's a direction input for basically step and direction type applications. Then we get into, this is where we use some of the add-on instructions that Rockwell has developed, so that we can kind of message back and forth with a Logix controller, and it just makes the drive easy to communicate with the controller. It's not SIP motion, but it is better than just doing a PTO control, pulse train output control. This is a screenshot of what the Kinetix51 software looks like. So you'll see that there is a lot of capability. That's why they call this a standalone drive, because you can do indexing mode, you can do some kind of cam profiles. You're going to use the auto tuning features in the software, built into the software. It does have the gearing function. So there's a lot of capability with this drive as a standalone drive. It does require some, I guess, if it's a simple application, this drive would work fine. But if you're getting more complex application, it makes more sense to go to a SIP motion type drive, where you're using just one software, the Studio 5000. So these are the motors that are compatible with the Kinetix5100. The TLY is the older series motor. They're still available. They're not going away. The whole purpose for the TLP series motor, that's the new motor that Rockwell has introduced, is because it gives us more range of power. The old TLY series motors were only available up to like a 2.5 horsepower size motor, whereas the TLP series motors now go up to as high as 20 horsepower or 15 kilowatts. So there's a lot more range of product. Now we get into the 5300. So the 5300 is also available in the 200 volt class or the 400 volt class. So it will accept voltages from 120 single phase, 240 single phase or 3 phase, and 480 volts. the 5300 is able to replace, like I mentioned earlier, the Ultra 3000 and the Kinetix 350 drives. It is a cost competitive solution when looking at SIP motion type applications, so higher end applications. This is going to be the entry level drive for the SIP motion product of the servo drives. And you have to use this drive with a Logix controller. It is not standalone. So you would require some kind of either a compact Logix or control Logix controller to interface with this drive, and you would still be using the Studio 5000 software. Some of the features of the 5300 are obviously the safe torque off is still a key feature. It has really great performance as far as control loops, 125 microsecond update time for current, speed, or position. Current is proportional to torque, so it has a really fast torque update time. 4 digital inputs, and then you have the auxiliary port for a master encoder. It is compatible with the TLP series motors, and the TLP series motors, they are compatible with what they call the JIS frame. So that's a Japanese international standard. So what that really means is it's easy to migrate from a Mitsubishi or a Panasonic or a Yaskawa servo motor. Any of those type motors have a certain frame size and dimensions. These TLP series motors will be able to replace those motors as a drop-in. It does have the dual port Ethernet for device level ring type applications. One of the bigger advantages is some new features in algorithms, control algorithms. They have the load observer and notch filtering. What that really means is it really simplifies your servo tuning. So you don't have to be a servo expert as far as tuning the servo, because there's a lot of features built into the drive that help with the tuning of the servo drive. We already mentioned it is a SIP motion drive, and it does support all of the MP series, the TL, Y, and some of the legacy servo motors. So the power range for the Kinetix 5300, once again, we can accept or input anything from 120 volts single phase, 230 volts single phase or 3-phase, and 480 volt 3-phase. You'll see all the multiple different drive sizes, and the reason for the different drive sizes obviously is so that we can match it up to the right size servo motors that are available. So this would be a typical configuration for the Kinetix 5300. So you'll use your Studio 5000 software would be loaded in your PC. Your application code would be done in the Logix controller, and then using the motion instructions, MSO, motion servo off, MSF, the MSO is motion servo on, and then the MSF is motion servo off. And then you have the MAM, which is motion axis move or motion axis jog for the MAJ. So these are samples of what type of instructions are available from the Studio 5000 software. And they're showing here that you can go from the controller to the servo drive, and then from the servo drive, you can either close the ring or go to another Ethernet device. As far as migration support or literature, there are available migration guides. Rockwell Automation, if you go to the Rockwell Automation website, they have what they call a literature library, and these are the 2198 RM004B. That's the actual publication document that would help or give you migration information from a migration of a Kinetix300 to a Kinetix5100. These are really helpful guides. They are a free download, so I recommend if you have a migration from either any one of the Kinetix older drives, the 300, the 350, or the 3000. If you're migrating to the newer drives, it makes sense to download these migration guides for support. As far as life cycle support, so once the drive is obsolete, Rockwell will basically support the drive from a technical support standard for 5 years. Once the announcement of discontinued. So you're still, even though the older drives are obsolete, it doesn't mean that you're basically dead in the water. Rockwell will still support the drive from a technical support stance. And then we mentioned earlier the end of life, so we want to start looking at either purchasing some spares or getting ready to do the migration to the newer series drives. But Rockwell will make an announcement before the drives are discontinued for a last time buy. Some other things that are available are last time buy agreements. So working with our one source distributors and Rockwell Automation Services Group, we can do some type of agreement where we can basically provide drives that may be discontinued, as long as there's available parts to support that agreement. And then there's also some other options for repairs based on availability. And then most of all, I think what's really important is there's a one source distributors in Rockwell, they offer a parts management agreement, a PMA. So this would be really good if you see that you're not going to be able to do the migration right away, but you want to have some spares, and you want to work with one source to come up with a PMA where basically they'll in the PMA they'll supply the drives available for applications, but it's without getting too much into detail, it's a system that would support your product and based on as needed, I guess you could say. Let's see here. So Rockwell also has a knowledge base website where this is a very useful tool for looking for most common issues or product application questions. This is a good resource to use. It's also a free resource from the Rockwell website. A lot of the most common questions are actually listed here for answers. You type in your question, and then it comes back with solutions or answers to the question that you typed in. And that pretty much covers what I was going to be covering today. If there's any questions, feel free to unmute your mics and you can ask any questions you may have on some of the topics we covered today. Are there any questions? Okay, well, it sounds like there are no questions, so I want to thank you for taking the time out to join the webinar, and hopefully we'll see you on some of our future webinars. Thank you.
Good job, Eddie.
Yeah, good job, Eddie.
Are we still recording or we're not recording?
Yeah, we're supposed to.
Okay. So I stopped sharing.
Yeah, the attendees have left.
What's that?
I said the attendees have left already, so.
Oh, all right, cool. So
yeah, good job, Eddie. A lot of good information.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you. anyways, well, we got that one done, so I didn't get to skate
Yep.
after all.
Yeah, mark that one off the list.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, cool. Well, thanks guys for coming in and helping support.
We were just there to talk.
All right, cool.
Awesome. All right, guys. I think we could wrap it up.
All right, sounds good. So
All
what
right.
do we just close out or what?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Shelly. If you're still there, right?
Thanks, Shelly.
Okay, thanks, Janelle. We'll see you later. Adrian, thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, okay, bye.